Defining DeFi, hackathon, Morales and Google. 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 Define hackathon, Morales and Google. Defining define hackathon, Morales and Google. Defining define hackathon, Morales and Google. Defining define hackathon, Morales and Google. 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 Morales and Google.
Greetings, developers and hackathon participants. Welcome to the second live stream for today's hackathon events. We are meeting in GatherTown after this event and then once more later on today. So there's plenty of time to meet up with other people who are also involved with this hackathon, to share what you're working on, to get some tips, and to make our dApps better as we develop together. Now, I'm Phil, head of events for Morales, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. I'm also joined by Vic of BNB Chain. Now, Vic is going to be giving us an introduction to BNB Chain. For those of you who are interested in building on that blockchain, this is a much anticipated and exciting workshop. I want you guys to stay tuned through the entire thing. We're going to have time for question and answer. We're going to really get into some exciting things. So, Vic, welcome to the stage.
Happy to be here, Phil. And as Phil mentioned, today we are going to discuss a little bit on the broadest view of what is it that BNB chain is, and also how you as builders and developers and entrepreneurs can build your dream, your application, and your vision on top of the BNB chain, and how can we support you through the whole process.
Perfect. Now, Vic's already sharing a slide deck with us backstage. I'm going to put that on the screen for us, and let's get into it.
Cool. So you see it, right? Yes. Cool.
Yep. It's up there. We're ready to go.
Yeah. So our goal in BNB chain is to support you in your journey, and this is actually what we want to do, like to support you from the beginning until the end, throughout the testing, production, later user engagement, growth. We have different programs around which focused on different stages of the companies, which you hopefully become or already are. And for the small ones, or only for the bootstrap companies, we are aiming to provide more technical support around how to bring the vision of your product into life. And for those who already got some traction, got some users, transactions, whatever you're building, for those, we have different programs both on around marketing and product growth and architecture support. All of this for you to succeed. And we do this because we truly believe that in the next couple of years, over 1 billion users will enter the Web3 world. And this is not only DeFi, this is not only NFTs, not only payments, not only DAOs, this will be everything. Supply chain, healthcare, Internet of Things, everything that you know that is currently being built and the companies exist will eventually move to the Web3. And partially or entirely is because of the technology itself, the blockchain technology, which in a way consists like of 5 pillars, but people forget about it, that blockchain is not only ICOs, and blockchain is not only tokens. In the end, blockchain is the way to share information in a decentralized way and in a secured way. So if we go through these pillars, we see that there is a digital ledger that essentially keeps all the records of transactions on chain in the peer-to-peer network. And I think like the most unique feature of the blockchain and what makes it so attractive is that it's immutable. So people can't change the information that is being recorded on the blockchain. And it's protected in a decentralized way. There is no a single point of failure. Naturally, sometimes blockchain experience reduced availability in one way or another. Not BNB chain, we'll get to it later. But on the overall, you cannot just take the building down or hack a specific server and then the whole thing collapses. And as I said previously, the data sharing is the essence of the blockchain. And we can expand it naturally to the asset sharing, which Bitcoin in a way started the whole journey, and hence brought blockchain to the, let's call it mainstream, not yet, but very soon to be our mainstream, in our little swamp at least. And it does so in the encrypted way. So the whole thing is encrypted throughout the way, and this is what makes blockchain. So why do we think that Web3 is the future? Why does BNB chain participates in hackathons and looking for new developers, looking for new products? Because we truly believe that Web3 is something that is going to just sweep away the industry. So it's trustless. So there is no third parties, no intermediates, and everyone can do in a way whatever they want within the boundaries and the agreed protocol rules. And the way it is ensured is that it is trackable, so that everyone can see what is going on. Everyone in the entire world can check every transaction. And this is, in a way, the beauty of the Web3, that it is totally transparent. As we said, it is irreversible. You cannot change it back and forth. You cannot decide whether you want to, if there is a contract, and we'll talk about contracts later. And so if there is a contract that meets some preconditions, it's going to be executed, and it's going to be self-executed. So you don't need a third party to be like a gateway to the whole thing to be actually working. And if we talk about the BNB chain dev community and ecosystem, so currently we have around over 1,000 different apps or dApps, decentralized applications. And it's not only DeFi, which is the fascinating thing that so as a lot of people think about blockchain as DeFi, or even more narrow to the decentralized exchanges, it's not so much. We can think about the development community starts to spread around both into gaming, into the NFTs, into the metaverse, and even within the DeFi space, we start to get more diverse products. Besides decentralized loans and asset management, we get into more niche aspects of bridging, of governance, of voting, of decision making, staking. So this the DeFi space itself grows beyond the exchanges, and even goes into like merges with other aspects. So for instance, in the NFT space as well, we're not only looking into buying, selling, minting the NFTs, we are also currently seeing reward programs, which is like loyalty cards, which is like a composition of DeFi and NFTs. We are also looking about customer engagement, retention, all of this in a way get together and go into more spheres. In gaming, besides the pay to earn, which is also in a way it's DeFi, also it's finance, because in a way this is how you earn money, but it's gaming. So again, so we are looking at two spheres that were completely different. There was finance, there was gaming, there was no interaction. Now we see that in gaming we have a second layer of players trading rewards, trading earnings, trading experiences even, and we're looking into marketplaces of virtual land, of houses, of avatars, of everything that is before was just a decoration of the game. Now this becomes tradable, hence it brings value, hence it's finance. Metaverse, which started also to go beyond the land ownership, and we started to look at remote working environment, collaboration, project staff management, even this cute little Zelda world that we all meet into after the workshops. Even this, it's metaverse, but it's now related to some kind of communication between people, bringing value, and without it, even the Morales and Google Hackathon wouldn't be the same thing. DeFi landscape, it is a DeFi hackathon, and we should talk about DeFi naturally, like as a DeFi space. And from our perspective, I talked a little bit broader about it, but if we talk about DeFi, like in terms of traditional finance, then naturally we have different aspects of the DeFi domain itself. We have the assets creation, the stable coins, the indices, synthetic assets, and we have basic operations like liquidity lending. So this all fall within the DeFi landscape. This is traditional operations that we're used to. We then go a little bit further to advanced topics like derivatives and options, and this more structured products. And naturally, we can talk about yield farms, payment exchanges, and some other products, like in terms of I guess the people from traditional finance can think about some kind of exotic options that exist in the traditional finance, but have not yet found their way into the DeFi Web3 landscape. So all of these are welcome, a part of the ecosystem. Some things already exist in one form or another, and more products and services are being built. And the reason why all this possible is smart contracts. Smart contracts are the ones that the programs that there are the lines of codes that make it happen, and these connect all these industries together and find the way to the Web3 world. So if you look at a record storing, if we do look at the connecting with trading activities, then together you already can find a product that connects two different worlds. If you look about Internet of Things, for instance, in some kind of manufacturing, then connecting those to supply chains through the Web3 will create totally new products. So if you look at besides thinking about domain and building the product within within a single domain, we can also look at fusions, so to speak, between different industries even, and to combine them together using this smart contracts applications. Eventually, as I said, we will see the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. Even now, we can already start to place things in the tabular form as we did, and think about what particular aspect of the application development cycle has now been moved to Web 3. So previously we had a server which ran our application. Now we have EVM or non-EVM in the non-EVM blockchain. We had storage such as SQL or NoSQL database. Now we have IPFS or Auri or Filecoin. Cloud that replaced the managed servers are now itself being replaced by the blockchain itself, because in the end, blockchain is nothing but a new cloud. You can deploy program there, you can store information and data, and eventually together, just like as the hackathon sort of nudges us to the right direction of combining Web3 and Web 2 worlds with using Moralis services and Google Cloud services. And the same goes for the middleware. We are looking for the indexing. So instead of Snowflake, we can use the graph. And instead of APIs, we can use Infura. And up to the front-end tech with a single sign-on applications are now being replaced with the multi-sig variations, and SDKs being also replaced by the variations of Web3 SDKs, either specific to the use cases such as gaming, such as NFT, or to the DeFi world where we have atomic transactions in one way or another. And lastly, to give an example of how the world is moving, is we're seeing that this is taken from Misari presentation, and we're seeing that this is for the data applications and for the music and entertainment, and we see that the world is moving little by little from Web 2 to Web 3, and from our perspective, we are looking for the next GoDaddy, for the next VeriSign, for the next Medium, and you are the ones who are going to build it on top of BNB chain. So why BNB chain? Why not any other chain? Thankfully, there is a lot of chains in the ecosystem, and eventually you as a builder and as a creators will have to make a decision, ideally making it in the beginning of the journey, and which, despite the sort of like, you can still deploy back and forth EVM programs on one network and another, but we all know that eventually when you grow big enough, that becomes an issue. That becomes an issue in terms of your infrastructure, that becomes an issue in terms of migration, both of your users and both of your costs between different providers. So this is something that very recommended to look at the beginning of your journey and make a solid decision, which will later increase your velocity towards success, rather be some kind of impediment. From our perspective, why BNB is, we sort of like summarized it in 6 topics, and the first one naturally is the economic one. We have a BNB chain has much lower gas than its competitors, and we'll get to it later. The average is 0.33 per transaction, and this is very cheap, sort of speak. And not only BNB chain provides a fast and stable scalable network, and this is very important because some chains, while maybe cheaper, don't provide the same reliability and availability, and this is, in a way, it's a problem for you, because even if you get a good price, if the application or if the chain doesn't work, then the application doesn't work as well. So BNB chain has managed to have 100% availability since inception in 2020. So this is over 2 years already, and continue to build towards scalability and more to support more features and more growth. Mature marketplaces mix. So over 10 NFT marketplaces have been already deployed and working, and on the BNB chain, as well as different launchpads for the project. And this is something very important. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be gaming. It's for any project. It is important to get traction, to get users, even if it's B2B, which is business to business applications. You still have to have customers, and your customers will be other projects. So the BNB chain community have both a lot of users and a lot of applications, which, whatever your business model is a good mixture of properties. While Binance is not a BNB chain a company, or the vice versa, these are different entities. There is benefits that BNB chain enjoys with respect to Binance partnerships, and the Binance having over 30 million users, naturally this can be leveraged both in terms of marketing, both in terms of growth. This is something that is not to be overlooked in the still growing ecosystem such as Web3. This is a huge community. It's the biggest one, and it's both. So if we get to number 5, as we said, very strong ecosystem, people throughout the world building applications on this chain, and having a huge also user base, both on social networks and also in the volunteering and partnering communities. So today, BNB chain is the best performing blockchain, and with help of you, helping you, we'll build together a community with over 1 billion users, and we'll do this in these 4 main ways. We'll make it secure. We'll get to it later how we do this. On reliability, I already told that BNB chain is the only chain that has been 100% reliable from the inception. Scalability, BNB chain is building more and more tools, both in the layer 2 domains, both improving the layer 1 infrastructure, being a fork of Ethereum and not built on top of Ethereum. So in a way, BNB chain can develop and upgrade separately and doesn't have to wait for the Ethereum to catch up. And lightning fast due to its unique infrastructure and consensus protocol. A few key milestones and highlights. So as I said, the launch date was in the middle of 2020, and now we have a total value locked of nearly 20 billion USD. We have over 1,300 applications already live on the chain, and both from the daily active users and transactions recorded, the chain performs very well with 2 million users and 16 million transactions. As I said, the average gross gas price is around 30 cents and more, which is even more important, and that is it is more or less stable. And this is due to unique infrastructure of the BNB chain, that it doesn't both the price of transaction, the block time, all the metrics that are around the blockchain itself, they are constant. And this is, from your perspective, this is, as a project, this is very important because it doesn't create risky situations, both for you and for your users. You can plan your growth, you can make estimates on how your user growth will be, how your money burn down will be. All of this makes business creation and value creation much more stable and reliable and sustainable over the long term, which is what we are building for. This is what is important for us, to build a long-term community. So we're not looking into like heist applications or the NFT of today. We are looking into applications that have a lifespan of years. The builders who are looking to build value both to the community and to the users and to the world, if you say. A little bit about gaming community. So BNB chain hosts the largest gaming community, and with several games and over 2 million weekly active gamers. So this particular aspect is very interesting, both in terms of target audience. You don't have to be a game, but you can build some kind of DeFi application or even tooling for serving games. You can look at the traditional gaming world, the gaming industry in Web 2 and see what tools exist there and even port them to the Web 3 with already proven business model and demand. So if we go back to the pillars that I mentioned about security, so it is very important for the BNB chain to maintain the security for the users. Eventually, users and the community is the one who use your applications, who interact with your applications, and the ones who need to feel safe, even in this Web3 world. There has been a lot of dishonesty in the domain, and BNB chain took responsibility and has created an Avenger DAO community initiative around the security. And this initiative is founded by several partners. So it's not only BNB chain. It has different contract auditors, security specialists, and as well as wallet applications. Essentially, any application or any company is welcome to join if they want to contribute to protect the users. And the idea is to deter malicious actors from the community, sort of to whitelist the projects and applications, and to make sure that the applications and use cases that are being played on the community are secure, are safe, and following the best industry standards for safe practices. You can go to avengerdao.org and see it for yourself. And what it does is it provides several services as an API. So you, as an application developer, can also use the services to build into your application if you want to have some kind of security aspects to your use case or to your application. And also for the users, they can see whether the domains or the addresses that they're interacting with are secure. And also on the watch side, on the watch use case, they also warn subscribers in real time whether security exploits are happening. So this is it has started a few months ago and already gained a lot of traction, a lot of interest from the community, both from the users and from the application themselves, who want to participate or who want to integrate these features into their application. I think one of the early adopters were PancakeSwap. With, you can see here that if you put the address or the token which you want to swap, then you can see this rating whether the contract or the person that you're interacting with has been suspected in some kind of activity. And also in the DApp Bay application also is a good example of to see what the possibilities of Avenger DAO is, and this is still growing. It adds more security checks, and you can, as I said, you can look at it and even try out by yourself. You're also welcome to use it in your own application. This will be considered as usage of BNB chain. So let's see how do we actually build something on the BNB chain and what the BNB chain is all about. So BNB chain is EVM compatible, which means that any code that you have previously written for Ethereum, it can and will run on BNB chain. It supports different SDKs. We provide a lot of resources and materials and effort into building the community in different languages. So you don't have to learn any other language from what you already know. Any language will do. And if you have any preference or any request, feel free also to contribute by yourself or to have a create an issue in GitHub. And if there is enough demand, this is something that we'll be willing to support in the near future. This is what we do. If we talk about BNB chain infrastructure, there are several things that you should know in order to understand how to read both the documentation and also how to quickly build the application that you need and use the right tools. In essence, there are four chains, so to speak, to the BNB chain architecture. In the heart of it is BNB Smart Chain, where this is a general purpose BNB EVM compatible blockchain. This is usually what you will use in the beginning and for general purpose cases. For this, we have several scaling solutions on both sides. So BNB ZK rollup is being deployed by the end of this year. It's already been open sourced and currently being validated in the closed developers with a closed group. And this is zero knowledge proof scaling solution, an L2 solution on top of the BNB Smart Chain. And we are also have already working a BNB sidechain. And these are for super scalable projects that have also their own tokenomics and also demand an increased throughput. And we'll talk about this later on. And the last one is Beacon Chain. And the Beacon Chain provides governance for the BNB Smart Chain. Specifically, what it does is it provides staking, voting, and on-chain governance. This is what it does. So the governance of this BNB chain is maintained on a separate blockchain for security reasons and to make sure that it both the general purpose smart contracts and all the applications don't interact with the security important or sensitive financial issues like staking, voting, and on-chain governance. As we talked previously, BNB Smart Chain is EVM compatible. You can deploy smart contracts to it, and it supports native cross-chain communication between those. In terms of consensus, so why is it different? Why is BNB chain different? How is it different? So recently we know that Ethereum has moved to proof of stake, and in proof of stake, currency holders stake their token, some currency, for the chance to determine the block. So the more money you stake, the better your chances to participate in the block creation. This is the current mechanism of the Ethereum network. On the other side, there is proof of authority. This is usually used for the private deployments such as Hyperledger Fabric. In the enterprise world, it provides an ultimate security in terms of whitelisting the validators. So in this scheme, all the validators are pre-proofed and pre-authorized, and you have to actually apply to be a validator, and this is a manual process. What BNB chain does, it has combined these two domains and created a proof of stake authority. And this is a combination of two approaches where out of pool of all the pre-approved validators, every time in any given moment, there are 52 validators who are ready to be to participate in the network creation. 26 of them are being active, and this changes every several minutes, depends on the protocol. It changes from time to time, but the idea is that there is a limited pre-approved number of validators, and from these validators, they're being selected, and this is random process. So this negates the security concerns, but also improves the security overall by simply denying malicious actors the access to the network. And the last thing that we want to do to talk about the governance is also like, how does this actually work? So so for the validator to become such or to be nominated, they need to at least 2,000 to stake 2,000 BNB, and they have to be active validator. And there is also a slashing mechanism. So in case there is some kind of malicious behavior within these candidates, like double signing or simply not being available, their self-staked money being slashed. And this is very important. So this creates an incentive for the validators both to act within the boundaries of the protocol and also to be always available. In terms of scalability, as we mentioned, there are two aspects of how you can scale. There are BNB ZK rollups, and this provides, as being an L2 rollup solution, it provides the same security of the BNB smart chain, but allows the increased transactions per second, up to 10,000 transactions per second, and also even further reduces the transaction cost. So this is specifically built for transactions that for applications that aimed to high transactional use cases, gaming, DeFi, social, everything that requires a lot of transactions, and it has a pre-built NFT support and a pre-built market making support. So this is an ideal tool for social and DeFi applications for the high scalability. There is, on the other side, there is a BNB sidechain, which is it's a little bit more complex in terms of maintenance, because you have to create your own tokenomics, your own gas token, your own even gas model. You can make it for free, sort of like a gasless solution. and this serves as a total custom solution for the specific use cases. So if you have this kind of needs, naturally it's also EVM compatible, and it's also, since it's the whole blockchain serves only you, it creates an ultra high fast TPS environment, transaction per second, and within the your security, gas, and tokenomics. How do we actually start building? This is what came here. So you need a wallet for this, and usually you would use MetaMask as a widely used wallet, and you would connect to the testnet. You can also run it on locally, but initially you would want to connect to the testnet, which is a test environment for the BNB chain. And to actually, it still requires gas or test BNB, but those can be received at the faucet, which is, there is a link here, and you can ask for the test BNB for your testing needs and development, and to get you going. You also will need a development environment. Initially, we suggest Remix, as this is quite easy to use and totally web based application, so you don't need to download something, and it's already supports or built specifically for the Web3 use cases. So you don't need to pre-configure anything, and with this you can start going and start developing. Later on, upon your both environment and language, you can move to more sophisticated tools such as Visual Studio. But for this, initially, just try to get going, try to deploy something, look how it works, and see where it leads you. In terms of self-help, BNB Chain provides a ton of tutorial for every possible use case. If you find a use case that is not written, please reach us in Discord channel, and we'll be happy to address it and to add it. So as I said, we have like for different environments, as you see here, we have for Remix, for Truffle, for Hardhat, we have different tokens, how to essentially everything that you need to know. There is a tutorial on it with the step-by-step explanation on what you need to do to get you going. This is the first go-to resource that we are recommending you. Going through it, identifying your, even like using the search, your use case, whatever you need, and just looking through it and copy paste and get it done. We also have and the links below, you can later view. We also have a full stack tutorial for the total application using the full stack environment. So you have a front end and server side and like template, so to speak, so that you would understand how to interact between different things. You can take it and then build on top of it. If you don't like reading, we have a video tutorials, which we also put on our YouTube channel, and these cover how you build on BNB, Solidity programming language, anything that you need to know to start going. So this has been divided like to digestible pieces, and we'll be adding more. We are working with different platforms on the courses on the certifications. So we'll have more on this. We already have a lot, but you can just hit that subscribe button, and whenever something new is added, you'll be able to see it. And if you don't like watching videos, you can also play games. So there's a very cute resource called Crypto Zombies, where you can learn how to program BNB chain. And it's initially for a little bit on games, but you could get going and to get understanding about the general concepts as well. Apart from that, we support a variety of tools, both partnering and both building in-house. So if you need data oracle, if you need security audit, we have partners for this. So once you get going and once you start to build, naturally you don't want to build everything by yourself. So for every like per use case, we are building like a recommendation of different tools that you are recommended to use, both in terms of the tooling and both in terms of underlying technology, like for instance, what kind of wallet is DK, what kind of multisig solution. This is all provided for you so that you could look at it. This is also the best way to start to see, like to map what kind of blocks you'll be using for your application, so that you could spend and invest your time on actual business case and your actual idea that you have, rather than working on the piping. How does the Web3 application look? As a user, usually it's interacted through the web browser. You can also do it through mobile, but this is what we have here. And there is what's called Signer. Signer is the tool. Usually it is either an actual wallet or a wallet SDK that authorizes the application on behalf of the user to perform actions. And this both serve as a security and as a payment way, where user would use the same sign-in application method to interact with your application. And then if we talk about browser, we have a front end, which is usually HTML and related technology. And then we have provider of the blockchain. And what does it mean? So blockchain as itself is decentralized, but you actually need to to get to the node. You can run the node by yourself, and then you have the full access to the node, but this is rather excessive and also expensive. So what you can do is you can use providers such as Alchemy, Infura, QuickNote. There are plenty of providers out there, and they have different plans, starting with free plans, and you can interact with those and connect to the blockchain through them. And on the blockchain itself, then we have a virtual machine. And a virtual machine is something, if you're familiar with the Java world, this is the same thing. This is the execution environment that executes either yours or someone else's code in form of smart contract. And the operation, the result of that is being recorded into blocks. This is how generally the application would look like, and this is how generally your Web3 architecture would look like. Then if you would want to scale, then naturally you would have to use different tooling, such as Google, and naturally as a provider, we highly recommend Moralis, as they have plenty both APIs for specific use cases. So this is something that is you being participating in this program. This is highly recommended for you as well. And in terms of data, usually you would store the data in a separate blockchain, which is called either IPFS or Swarm or Filecoin. And this is another type of blockchain that is specifically designed for the storage, both in terms of its architecture and both in terms of pricing. Is similar, like in if you talk about Google, you don't use compute units to store the information. You have storage solutions for that. And what is it, EVM? So as we talked about, so EVM is a decentralized compute engine, which is responsible for running and executing smart contracts. So this is essentially the environment where the smart contracts are being executed. And every Ethereum node has their own EVM, and like the whole blockchain they store to make sure that to ensure the security and consistency of the data. And from developer perspective, what you develop is a smart contract, which is later being compiled into the opcodes, which is read and interpreted by the EVM. And in the hierarchy of things, where it is located. So, for instance, if you write source code in Solidity, then an Ethereum client, such as Gith, would essentially run it and post the results on the blockchain. So your Solidity source code will eventually be compiled into the assembly code, or it's called opcodes, and then fed to the EVM. And the EVM, as I said, is nothing but a virtual machine, which eventually run on top of the physical processor. This is why it's so similar to the cloud compute engine. In the end, you just deploy your program and get the result. To understand the EVM architecture, it's very similar to any other virtual machine. Eventually, you have a memory, you have a program, you have a storage, and what is unique to the EVM world is the gas. Essentially, the counter that tells you how much of the code you can run. And this is important because everything in the EVM world costs gas. So whatever your operations are, either you're storing storage or calling another program or doing computational operations, everything costs gas. The more you use, the more you have to pay. So this brings us to how smart contracts are stored. So if the smart contract itself is also eventually compiled into the bytecode, so it also takes storage. In a way, it's just like your program that you compiled into .o if you're from C world. So this is something that you have to store or to give or to feed your execution engine. And the BNB chain then provides the trustless and a universal system to track and execute the transactions. And those stored opcodes is then used to execute your transactions. Either it's to transfer assets or to execute some other logic, it doesn't matter. Eventually, there are 4 steps. So you have your program, which is predefined contract, which you wrote. You have events, which sometimes happen either by your program or by someone else's. And eventually, they're executed and settled. So whatever being executed, either the asset transfer or some kind of manipulation of data, eventually being settled and recorded perpetually on the blockchain. You as a developer, you have three choices. You can develop on the local virtual machine, which is essentially running the blockchain on your computer, which is, in a way, it's not bad. It does require a little bit high-end computer, but it is very, very fast, and you can do it offline. You can run it as a testnet, connect to the testnet, and eventually to the mainnet, and also you can connect it to the Web3 provider such as Morales. So all of these choices are available. You can start at whatever that you feel more comfortable with. In terms of testnet and mainnet, the IDs are 56 and 97. This is the parameters that you will need to provide during the application development. And we also suggest to use BS Scan, which is essentially the tool for tracking for during the development and also later for the mainnet to understand what is actually going on with the application, because naturally you cannot debug it because this happened. The application is being run in the decentralized way. So this is a good tool for you to actually see whether the application has been deployed, how much gas it costs really, whether the assets has really been transferred as requested. So this is the tool that you use a lot. So get used to it. A little bit about what do we do actually once we get to the program itself, once we get to the application, and once we deploy it. How do we get our users? How do we reach first million, 2 million, 10 million users with the BNB chain? BNB chain runs an incubator which provides mentorship, funding, community, and ecosystem from the selected partners. This is the program that it was intended for small projects to actually help them grow. So whenever the next batch is applied, you're very welcome to apply. Marketing for the projects that start to grow and get traction. We run something like called monthly Depth Stars campaign, where within our community and social channels, we advertise the selected applications. Naturally, this gives a lot of new users and feedback, and this is how you can grow immensely. Some of our projects who have been exposed during this program have grown tenfold, and so this is something that is very valuable to the growth stage. We also have global events and meetups where we promote selected apps, and this is the way that you would eventually go global and use our both business development and marketing resources. Lastly, how do you get into the Web3 world if you are new? If you heard this thing, blockchain, if you want to contribute, if you have built something small but you want to participate in something bigger, we support all kinds of collaboration opportunities, starting from funds, campus events, recruitment, awareness. So any events that both local and global, such as this one, we encourage you to participate, and both on our social channels and our Discord channel. Talent development focus is very important for us, both for internal recruiting and also naturally for the ecosystem growth. This goes both way into if you would like to join projects that are running on the BNB chain or the BNB chain itself. This is something that we put a lot of focus to grow the community of developers, of innovators, and like to build the overall awareness of the blockchain, and in particular BNB chain. And lastly, as an example, blockchain ambassador. This is something that we encourage to apply. This exposes the participants to a variety of projects, a variety of all flavors of community, different countries, and this is a very interesting avenue for those who want to get into the Web3 world or get deeper if they have participated in one project but want something bigger. Another, they started with gaming, now they want with DeFi, or the other way around. This is something that we continuously run in the BNB chain and encourage everyone to join. As usual, the last note would be on the social media. We have a 24/7 developer support through our Discord. Join our Discord. You'll get both support from the community, maybe in your language. We have separate sections for the language-specific communities, and also on the general events, hackathons, meetups, everything that revolves around developers. This is the place to go. This is the place to ask questions. You don't know something, you don't know where to find it. Just go, just ask it, and you'll get the answer. The community is very responsive. We also have a designated community like developing roles, whose the whole job is to help you with your questions. So if you are stuck, if you don't know how to continue, or if you're looking even like to meet other people, this is the place to go. Naturally contributing on GitHub, if you feel confident enough to get into the weeds of the blockchain, into the protocol, into the security, feel free to look at the open issues and try to apply for the pull request. Start with something small, and then over time get into more significant and more technical security blockchain related issues. And let's get going. Let's build Web3 together.
Very exciting stuff, Vic. Thank you so much for that great presentation. Wow, like what a treasure trove of different tips and overviews. If you're one of those people, I know I've met a couple people who said, this is my first hackathon. I'm brand new to Web3 development. How do I get started? And a lot of times that journey looks different for everybody. But if you're looking for that full overview of all of the tech things we're working with from a BNB chain perspective, I don't think that we could have a better one than what we just went through there. Thank you so much for that, Vic. I want to take questions, but since we are over an hour on the stream at this point, why don't we meet up in Gathertown for some additional questions? Now, before we do that, I did see one question in the chat regarding funds for dApps developing on BNB chain. Do you have a like a page where BNB supporting foundations have an application or anything where people can apply for development funds on BNB chain?
So mostly hackathons is the best way to to get a rather quick and painless money, so to speak. If you have something already built, show it to us, and if you truly believe that this is something worth for us to invest, then naturally this is the best way. As I mentioned, we also have an incubation program. This is not continuous. This is in batches. So this opens once in a while. Go to the BNB website and see when the next batch is, and those are also very welcome. But as I said, like this can be like it's either once per year or two per year, and once it's closed, then you have to wait for another one. So this is something that is the second way that you can do. I think that would be like the ideal too. And if you feel that you already have also like traction and the technology behind it, you can also, as I said, go to Discord, talk to people. Eventually, you'll get around and get to the right person, and you'll get the meeting that you want.
Perfect. Vic, is there anything else you wanted to share with our viewers here today before we head on over to GatherTown? I want to remind everybody to click the link in the description. Join us in GatherTown. We're going to have one-on-one discussions. We're going to talk about what we're building, crypto, BNB chain, and answer any questions that you guys have.
No, but we will have another session shortly in 2 days. So
yes,
if you like not sure whether you have a question, don't have a question, this will be the great time to ask, and I'll be there to answer.
Perfect. So if we don't see you in GatherTown, we'll definitely plan on seeing everybody for that live stream on Friday. There's also another live stream tomorrow. I believe it's with our partner Covalent, if I'm not mistaken. May need to double check on that. But that said, we'll see you guys at the next live stream. Have a wonderful day and see everybody in GatherTown.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Vic.
Bye-bye.